Well, Naledi, similar scenes this morning. We saw students affiliated to the EFF Student Command blockading the Wits entrance this morning. The campus security was brought in to try and remove them. I'm sure the visuals that you will see on your screen now point to exactly what took place this morning. Shortly after 6:30, cars were turned away from the entrance here on Empire Road. And as you can see also here behind me, more police reinforcement has been brought in. This is certainly a larger number than what we saw a little bit earlier on this morning. This is also in addition to the campus security that is now manning the different entrances into Wits University. So this morning, when we arrived, students from the EFF Student Command had been sitting at the entrance, not allowing any cars to come in. So any cars that had been coming in from here behind me were basically being turned away and asked to use alternative entrances, where you also find some of the campus security as well. So then the security then asked the students to move away from the entrance. They did not want to move away. They're saying they're going to continue with their protest action until their demands are met. Then there were scuffles between the two, the security forcing the students outside of the premises of the university. The students also asked us to come in show what they say is what the university does not want us to see. So as we headed in, the campus security also forcibly removed us from the campus as well. We have been broadcasting, the media has been broadcasting from outside of Wits University. The only communication that we have pertaining to the extent of the interruption to classes is from Wits University itself, which has also indicated that classes had been minimally disrupted, and have indicated that a number of students have been issued with suspension letters, and those suspension letters relate to violence that had taken place in Braamfontein yesterday and towards this area here behind me on Empire Road, where during peak hour traffic there had also been some of the disruptions to traffic, in particular during peak hour. So those scuffles took place this morning between the EFF Student Command as well as the students. You would know that part of what the students are saying at this particular point is that they want students who owe the university 150,000 rand and less to be allowed to register. They also say that the 10,000 rand upfront payment for residents should also be scrapped, and that the 45,000 rand cap by NSFAS for accommodation should basically be scrapped. So they're basically saying that 45,000 rand is simply not enough for them to pay for the accommodation, because it is much more than that. They're only reliant, they say, on NSFAS. Their parents do not have money. So this has really, they say, led to a lot of exclusion on their part. At the University of Johannesburg as well, what you spoke about, Naledi, is that the students there have also vowed to continue their protests. They have been complaining about water interruptions. You would know here in the Auckland Park area, as well as the SABC, where you are broadcasting from, there have been water disruptions due to a number of reservoirs that have not been able to effectively pump water due to the ongoing load shedding. That is the first gripe. The second gripe is the issue that they're saying NSFAS allowances have not been paid to students. They moved into residences in January. They have not yet been able to buy food to eat. So now they're going to classes not having bath due to the disruptions of water in and around this particular area. And also they are not able to buy food. Students are going hungry, they say, because of the NSFAS allowances that have not been paid. So this is what the security situation looks like. Public order policing have been brought in here to Wits University. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are 5 vehicles that I've counted at this particular entrance. Let me show you now. I'll just turn around with my colleague Kabin Jokweni. You will see here towards this area, cars now being allowed. Very different from what we saw a bit earlier on this morning. Here now, cars are being allowed onto the campus. This is after the security, of course, had moved these students. So right here behind me, cars are now being able to go in. Wits University, I did speak to them a few moments ago. They had indicated that at this particular stage, they do not have a further update in addition to what they issued yesterday about a number of students that have received some of these suspension letters, and that they're calling on students to continue discussions with them. On the issue of accommodation, Naledi, you would know that Wits University had indicated and said they understand the issue of a lack of accommodation. They have then made available 350 emergency beds, they say, to accommodate the current challenges that these students are speaking of. So that is what they say at this particular point. We'll wait to hear what the further details are pertaining to what the way forward will be. We'll also try to speak to students a bit later on about whether they've managed to go back, behind the negotiating table with Wits University. But the last communication was that Wits University also says the 45,000 rand cap on residents that the students basically want scrapped. They say they have no jurisdiction over that. It is NSFAS that decided to cap it at 45,000, and there's simply nothing that they can do. Where they've managed to intervene, to try and raise funds also, to try and deal with some of the historical debt that some of the students at this particular university are facing. So those are some of the interventions they say they have tried to entertain, and also they are still willing to go behind the negotiating table. But as you can see, some of the cars now able to go through these boom gates, a far cry from what we saw this morning, where cars had basically been turned away from this entrance, not being allowed to go in. But students are adamant that they will continue with their protest action until their demands are met. But a bit earlier on this morning, a bit of mayhem at this entrance, that the security had to close the entrance to this university because of the scuffles that we saw taking place between campus security as well as students of the EFF Student Command.
Yeah, Chriselda, I think before we let you go, just one more. Yesterday, as we were looking at the protests outside the University of Johannesburg, outside the Kingsway campus, a lot of the leaders of these student protesters, the SRC, particularly talking about their intention to join the students that are protesting at Wits University. I mean, have we seen that happen? Yesterday, they talked about meeting with the two campuses of the University of Johannesburg in Auckland Park, and then potentially also then joining in with the protesters at Wits University. Has that taken place, and do we know what that's going to look like if they're still planning to?
Well, I was struggling a bit there to hear you, Naledi, but students at the University of Johannesburg have not gathered at this stage. Just before we went to air, I tried to touch base with some of the students there to try and understand, what their way forward is. Are they open to engagement, with the university's management to try and find an amicable solution to the challenges that they speak of? As I indicated, Wits University, I beg your pardon, University of Johannesburg students indicating the issues of water. How that is going to be addressed is because you would know as well, yesterday we had a bit of that challenge at the SABC as well, where some of our colleagues had to work from home due to the water interruptions. That is one of the issues that the students are complaining about, is that the university, which is not too far from where you are broadcasting from, is also hit by these disruptions. The university students say this has been the case for the past 3 weeks. They simply cannot allow this to continue without the university, them saying intervening more, bringing in tanks, making sure that those tanks are properly serviced so that these students are able to bath before they're able to go to school and are able to drink some water. And the other issue, of course, pertaining to the NSFAS allowances, they're saying students have basically not been able to buy food. They don't have any money. NSFAS allowances have not been paid since they moved into the campus residence. This was in January, and they were saying they simply cannot tolerate. That's what that one was about. They closed off the area around the campus square, which is just across the road, the shopping centre just across the road from the University of Johannesburg's campus where the protests had taken place. But they're also vowing to continue with their protest action. Possibly what we could even see is what has previously happened in the past, Naledi, is where these two universities then would come together. That has happened in the past because similarly, the challenges that they face are sort of intertwined. When you speak to these students, they talk about exclusion. They talk about not being able to, attend university due to monies that are being owed. But some of these universities, including Wits University, have said that some of the financial assistance for some of these students has actually fallen off because some of them did not perform well in their studies, and then that had fallen off because they didn't do well. So those have been some of the issues that we've been hearing from the university. No communication in comparison or as of yesterday's communication from Wits University, but we'll wait for the latest pertaining to what they're saying and what the way forward is from students, Naledi.
Yeah.